Welcome everybody to Monday Night Team Call. So excited to have you guys here. Tonight, I am honored, or we are honored to have as our guest speaker, Sarah Cates. She is an Emerald Ambassador here with Plexus, and just a little bit of background here. So what we're going to do is kind of just go over her story and journey here tonight, and I'm so excited for her to be here and talk with you guys. We met at convention this year in the Jewel Lounge. So thankfully, Emily snuck me in for a little bit to kind of get a tour, a lay of the land, a little bit of a future of what's to come. And honestly, it was such a pivotal moment for me. Sarah didn't know this at the time, and I've since shared this with her after we had the opportunity to meet that day in the Jewel Lounge. But to give you a little bit of background here, so it was like a break time right after the new emeralds, brand new emeralds, had gone up on stage and received their jewel for the first time. So it was a very super exciting moment. Sarah had an absolutely gorgeous emerald dress on. I feel like when we're all dreaming and visioning of what that future looks like and putting together that visual and trying to feel it and taste it, we think about the color of dress we're going to wear. We think about, what that moment on stage is going to look like and feel like. And she was just kind of winding down by herself in the back room. And Emily and I were kind of sitting there, and Emily struck up conversation with Sarah, and Sarah was so gracious. And in that moment where she could have just been like, oh, y'all, I need to just feel and be in the moment. Instead, she was gracious enough to start answering some of our questions and sharing a little bit more about her journey and her story to us. And it was very moving and touching for me. And I just am grateful that she is willing to be here tonight to share a little bit more about that story with y'all. So well, maybe I'll come back to that in a minute. So why don't we go ahead and kick this off here? Welcome, everybody. Sarah Cates. If you can tell us, I guess, just go ahead and open up a little bit more about you and a little bit
Thank
more about your story.
Well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you to everybody for the warm welcome in the chat of saying that. That is awesome. I feel like I'm the one that's honored to be here because sometimes, you can feel like your story maybe isn't anything that special, and so when you're sharing it and it touches somebody, um, I think both Candace and is it Emily? Yes, both of them, they got tears in their eyes, and to me, it's just my story, right? We can't tend to downplay our story, but don't ever underestimate your story and who it could touch. And so I feel honored that she asked me to share tonight because it may seem like an humble story for me, but maybe it'll be something that can be touch you or somebody that you know. Um, as she said, I'm Sarah Cates. I'm from Texas, and I am currently married with two teenage daughters. But when I started Plexus, I was a single mom. So my story is definitely a little different than some people because of that journey and where I started out from. So you go ahead. You have some questions for me. I don't know if that was the intro you were looking for.
Yes, absolutely. So, roughly speaking, how long have you been with Plexus? Um, and I guess what, how did you learn about Plexus? I guess is a great place to start. How did you learn about Plexus?
That's
And then what was the reason why you went ahead and got started with the business?
It's a really good question because most of us, probably like me, took a while to actually get on board with this. So I've been with Plexus almost 8 years, and a good friend of mine that I had known, well, we met as kids, and then you know how life is. Didn't see her for years, found each other on Facebook. She kept posting about gut health, and to myself, I thought about it as like she had this beautiful page, so much incredible stuff that she had beautiful writing, and then every now and then she does gut health. I'm like, your page would be beautiful. You just cut out that gut health. Like, what's with that? But it comes to that point in your life when, as a mom, you have kids struggling with health, and you're starting to be more open-minded to possibilities, right? And I saw some stories that connected with my kids' issues. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it for them, not for me. Um, it was really expensive, so I like canceled my subscription like after the first month. And then, but then my kids finished the products, right? And I noticed some changes. So I was like, oh, okay. So I came back with this, but I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to afford it. And that's when I found out that there was this business opportunity attached.
Absolutely. I feel like you might have just told the story of roughly 90% of us maybe that were like, I want this, I need this, I can't afford this. Now what do we do? And so I'm just so grateful that there is a business opportunity with this with Plexus and that you were able to tap into it. Okay, so what did that look like? How did when did you get like how quickly then did you get started? And would you say you probably started then more primarily for the business or because of the business?
Yes. Yeah. So I wanted to be able to afford the products, but like I said, I was a single mom and I was working part-time jobs to help cover for expenses for my family. I had three kids at the time and I was wanting to be at home. So I was at home, but I was working like three different part-time jobs. So it was very stressful. I would work day job online, remote work for an accounting, and then in the evening I would bake to sell. And so it was just like this busy, busy, busy. And so I was like, you know what? This isn't going to take me away from home. This is all online. Like I don't have to invest in anything, right? Like it literally is no cost to me to start. And my friend paid the 34.95 back then to help me get started because she knew I was a single mom. And I was like, okay, it's not going to cost me anything. So what's the worst case scenario, right? And my best friend at the time was a single mom, and she was like, what do you have to lose? The worst case scenario, you get some personal growth. Best case, you make some money, right? So
Absolutely.
that's why I was kind of like, okay, why not? And I made a post as soon as like within the first couple of days, I made a post and put it out there and then hid. I put my phone up and disappeared for the rest of the day because I was so freaked out what people would think. And my upline called me that night and she said, did you look at your phone? I'm like, no. She said, there's somebody on there who wants to sign up right now, tonight. I was like, what? And a dear friend of mine had literally was about to join somebody else. And when she realized I was on board, she was like, I want to join under you. And so I literally had my first sign up that first day I made a post.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And it doesn't always happen that way, but
No.
how awesome that it did. And that's the unique part about this, I guess, is that everybody's journey is in their own individual walk and their own individual story. But how belief building was that to be able to have that interest right away? And I think that a lot of people can relate to, like, I think literally like closing your eyes and hitting post and hitting send. Let's see. So my question for you then, did you have like big vision in the, like you hear people talk about like stories and vision and a why. Did you feel like you had big vision from the beginning? Like, was that something that you were like, we're going diamond like it was yesterday?
No. So this probably touches on some later questions I know you have, but I was very broken at the time, very broken.
Okay.
Um, I had, my heart was broken. The love of my life had just walked out on me one day, and I was raising these babies by myself. And it was just one of those things where I was completely broken and shattered. And I had been coming out of that, but my belief in myself, my belief in dreams, like dreaming to me was not even on my radar because I was just in a bad place
Hmm.
mentally, just trying to come out of that. And so it was just really, I kind of think I did it just because I needed to change. Like I knew I couldn't stay stuck, you
Hmm.
know? I felt
Yeah.
so stuck and I knew I couldn't. So I was like, okay, maybe this could help me get unstuck. So no, to be honest, I didn't have the big dreams until I got on a call. And it was another single mom, which she was actually a widow. Um, and she shared her story of how Plexus Income took care of them after her husband suddenly passed away. And that's when it like planted that seed of hope. So it was somebody else's story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is hopefully exactly what we're doing here right now tonight with your story and sharing. And I'm so grateful you are here doing that. So one of the things that I felt like really touched me when we were talking in the Jewel Lounge was you were talking about how you got started and that you were a single mom and that um, I think we were talking about the upcoming Emerald Extravaganza and being able to go on that trip for the first time. And you had mentioned that you were bringing your girls with you, and that all along throughout this journey, it was you telling your girls, like, we're doing this, like, this is our trip. Um, and to be able to see pictures of you while you were in Hawaii with the girls that you got to bring with you on that trip was just like so touching. So let's see here. So you've kind of touched on it a little bit of like how your belief and where your mindset was at least in the beginning. There was kind of that pivotal moment. And so then did you get to work? Who did you link arms with? What did that kind of look like?
So I decided to time block every morning as soon as the kids went to school to learn because I had no idea what these products were. Like I knew nothing. I had never done network marketing. Like I was as green as you could get them. And so I knew I had to learn. So every morning they would go to school because they were in school age by that point, and I would watch a video every morning. It was either a product video or business something to educate myself. And that's how I started my day every day for the first 6 months. I think it was like every day. That's what I did. Because I wanted to know what it did. I mean, I knew what it did for me within the first month, but I needed to know,
Yep.
and, just really being very intentional. I said, I'm going to give it a whole year and just see, what that looks like. And I don't know why emerald was my goal and not diamond. I mean, maybe that whole lack of belief, my ceiling wasn't raised at the beginning, but that was something that looked incredible. Like being able to go on a trip like that. And at that time, they were only going to Hawaii. They weren't going to Mexico. And it was like, that's what we're going to do. And as a single mom, you don't travel that much, And so, um, that was just something I set my sight on and then got to work. Showed up to every book study my team had. I was on it. Every training call I could possibly be, I was on it. Like I just was a sponge trying to absorb everything.
That's awesome. Staying close to the fire, as they like to say. Um, and it's that willingness, that openness and willingness to be able to learn, and to be able to, yes, as you said, Leah, hungry for change and what is different. So, um, what lessons do you feel like you have learned along your journey, and that you think would be very helpful for those um, following in similar footsteps?
Well, I would say some of the things would be just really learning how to like plug into the mindset thing, which we hear that a lot in network marketing, but that is really huge because um, I don't know if you knew this about my Emerald journey, but I tried for it 3 times till I hit Emerald. And a lot of people wouldn't do that. Like after a while, they're just like, okay, I didn't make it. Like maybe this just isn't meant to be. Well, I kept coming back and trying again. So in that though, there was a lot of growth, personal growth, and just having to really dig into beliefs about myself, and what my strengths were. I think that we all look at successful people and we try to copy them, which is good. We want to learn from those who have gone before. Like that's very important to be teachable, coachable, and learn. But I'm a people pleaser. I was a people pleaser, and I thought I had to try to be like them to be successful. But then I wasn't being who God created me to be and being authentic. And when I started making that switch of showing up how God wanted me to be and who He created me, my strengths, not my upline strengths, not their gifting, that's when I started seeing things really like shift. So that's kind of one thing I really try to teach my people is to be you, who God created you to be, find out what your strengths are, lean into that. And yes, we learn from other people, but adapt that to you and your strengths and how you lead, and then just overcoming that whole thing of you have to be perfect about it. Like I got hung up on the details, and it's like I don't have to have a perfect plan. Plans are great, but I don't have to. Like if you show up with enthusiasm, excitement, commitment, and you're not going to go anywhere, you just plug at it and just keep showing up, and people catch that. That's more than just having this perfect streamlined plan. And, my story is not perfect. Like I have had, people see me now. Like, yes, I made it to Emerald. I got to take my girls on that dream trip, but there was a lot of bumps through the way, and in 2020, which was a good year for all of us, I hit Ruby and Senior Ruby within 5 months, like January and then May. Really good year. And then later that year, the guy I was dating, we broke up after being engaged, and I just like fell apart. Like it was just another heartbreak. My team plummeted, my points, so all of us have those stories, right? And um, but God is a God of restoration, and we got back together. He's my husband now. So it's all, beautiful story in his timing. So same with my Emerald journey, like all of that had to happen in his timing. And that was another thing I learned is the timing. Whether it's my own life circumstances or this journey, what I thought it would look like, to let go of that expectation and just trust God in that. And when the time is right, it'll be right. And um, it's hard to explain that because when you're in the middle of it, you just want it to happen. We have these, and it's good to set goals. Like I do not dismiss that you have to set goals, and it's good to have timeline and like push. But when that doesn't happen, it's because there's a reason, and sometimes we have to dig into personal growth. Sometimes there's something else going on, but just trusting his plan in it. We keep showing up, keep doing the work, and then he blesses our labors if we keep doing that faithfully with the talents he's given us.
Don't mind me needing to wipe away a tear again here, girl. Oh, that's exactly, I think, what I needed to hear too. So, I
Oh,
appreciate
good.
you sharing that.
Absolutely.
Oh, but I think you're right. I think that there's something to be said for goal setting, and then there's also something to be said for his plan and trusting the process. And you need to set those goals, and you need to keep showing up. But you need to keep doing that and trust and have faith in his timeline and knowing that it will be worth it. Craig, question. Do you think it was worth it?
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
figured as
I'm
much.
not, yeah. I mean, aside from the fact of all the things that come with becoming a jewel, the incredible, like the trip and the car. I have a brand new car. I've never had a brand new car. When I started, I was driving the wheels off of an old rattly minivan. And I remember thinking, I think that's some of the reason why Emerald was my goal is like, I get to drive a nice car. And, like I know it's small things, but that's a big thing when you're struggling and you don't have enough, right? And those are all wonderful blessings. But the person who I am today versus that broken woman of 8 years ago, like I wouldn't trade that for all the trials and the setbacks. I mean, I would never want to go back to that, even if I didn't have the paycheck.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like it probably needs shared more often. You kind of touched on it in the beginning, but uh, I feel like network marketing is definitely personal growth with a paycheck attached to it. I feel it's like essentially you're getting paid to work on becoming a better person, and helping others along the way and bringing them along with you on the journey. So, um,
So
what would you say is your favorite part about Plexus? I realize that's a loaded question, and we kind of
yeah,
touched on it a little bit there, but
um, I don't know. I think the community, like again, I used to say Plexus saved me. Obviously, Jesus saved me, but he used Plexus as a tool because it gave me so much purpose, and having that community and with a purpose. I think though, if we didn't have that community, the purpose wouldn't feel so great. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just something about the purpose of helping other people alongside with other women who are all doing the same and building each other up and just that strong community that we have. That is probably my favorite part.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people would agree. Um, a lot of us show up because of the financial freedom and the time freedom that can be promised, and I think a lot of us stay and continue to keep sharing and keep doing and keep going because of the community and because of what it can mean for so many other people and offering that hope and that opportunity to others. So, yes.
Absolutely.
Um, And to give you guys a little bit of background on a little bit of like this whole timing and like I feel like it was so meant for Sarah and I to meet that day in the Jewel Lounge, not only because of her story and just the connection that I have felt, but turns out her daughter is also a type 1 diabetic and Truett, my daughter now, was recently diagnosed with the same. Um, and Sarah was one of the first people reaching out as I was struggling and sharing some of the journey and sharing some of the heartache and the challenges of like what was the hard road that we were walking in. We were in the trenches, like it was hard. And Sarah was one of the first people to reach out and just offer that little bit of hope and that little bit of comfort and to know somebody else in the community, in the Plexus community, walking down a similar path. It was just so comforting to have that. And so it's just, yes, in his timing. So awesome. But um, gosh, what does your life look like now, Sarah? What does life look like now compared to probably like when you started?
Well, it's a lot different. It's kind of like I tell my husband, I said, uh, I may not tell you I'm bougie, but there'll be signs. I have all my water bottles from Plexus. No, I'm just kidding. That's just one small thing. But no, I mean, of course, a lot of things have changed in my life and outside of Plexus as far as like my circumstances of having a husband um, that provides well for us. So the finances before we got married, though, just so you guys know, I was hit senior Ruby as a single mom, and we were able to live off of a pretty low income. So I was able to completely support my family on the income as a senior Ruby. So that was
Incredible.
pretty incredible. Like I was very proud of myself in that moment. I was able to quit all my other jobs and just do one thing, which is just so much fun. Like, not being stretched. So that was pretty incredible. And every single rank up, that bonus we used for travel because my family loves to travel. So any little, may have been just a small little trip, may have just been a trip to 4 hours to the beach, but every time I ranked up, I took that bonus and took the kids somewhere. So um, just kind of give a background on that. Now we live, my husband takes really good care of us, but I still will do this because of the passion I have to help people. Like that's huge. That's not going to change just because our finances are in a different place than they were.
Mhm.
Um, but also it gives us flexibility. I get to send my kids to a really good private school. And there was years where they were in a school that was not great but I didn't have options. Like I didn't have options. I didn't know what to do and it hurt me to send my kids to school and they're like I hate school.
Yeah.
And and it was just so hard, but I couldn't afford anything else. And I didn't want them to go to public school. It was very much in my heart to private. So they are in a really great school now. They're thriving. I'm getting to see them just become alive and thrive in a good community. And I couldn't have done that without this. So it just gives us so many more options.
Mhm.
Um, you know, taking the trip to Hawaii, I mean, you earn it for two, but I have two girls. I was going to take my third. So I was able to afford that, and all of the extras that it gives you when you have that flexibility, being able to just live that life that we want for our family. We bought a place in the country. We're buying cows. I've always wanted cows and I get to have cows. Things like that, just that freedom to have a life that I'd never dreamed of. So God is really good. I can't, it's not of my own doings, he's been good.
Yeah.
He's blessed me. Um, but this has been one of the tools that he's used to bless us
Yes.
financially.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man. Well, on that note, is there any um, last, I don't know, sharing words or thoughts or tips off the top that you kind of want to share here or
Not really, other than if you want to be successful, just don't quit. That's the only thing I can say is just don't quit. Get back up again. And that's the only when people say, how'd you do it? You just don't quit.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. It was an honor to hear your story. again, and I know that it will be impactful for so many others. And so I just want to thank you again for taking the time to spend a little bit with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody that took time out of their evening to listen in. I really appreciate y'all.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, everybody, so much. Have a good, blessed evening.